Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday evening to you all. Hope you guys are having a great night out there. Have had yourselves a great day, and of course, a great week out there so far. I got you a pretty big update tonight. We're going to talk about the potential for a pretty significant, maybe major storm system early next week. Not this week, but early next week. Most major model runs and most models out there agree with this. The GFS and the European, which are two of the main models that we look at, especially trying to figure things out in the medium to long term. But we certainly got something to discuss here. We could have a severe weather event on the warmer side of this storm system, and we can have a major winter storm on the northern side, the colder side of the system. So we're here to try to figure out what we do know about the system, who it can affect, and what it means after this system. Because once we get after this system, man, there is just a huge question mark on what happens after that. Because let me tell you, there is no agreement past day, I would say 6 or 7, model wise, on what is going to happen with our pattern going forward, at least over the next 2 weeks leading right up to Christmas. But of course, I'll get you guys an update on that here in the coming days. But I'm going to take a break on that and really start to zone in on this potential big weather system. This could affect areas in the south, in the middle of the country, and the north, a lot of people, and eventually make its way to the eastern U.S. a little bit later next week. But of course, the details are fuzzy. We're not going to be able to get exact with this, but we could have a significant severe weather with the event with this, potentially. And like I said, a major winter storm. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly always consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Ever consider joining my channel? The join tab should be under the video. I think I'm just shy of 20 members, trying to get to 20 by the end of the year. And I appreciate people who support me in that way. I really do, guys. Love you all. And I appreciate you guys viewing my channel. And if you guys got anything I can pray about, pray over, as always, put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. And I promise you, there is people with this YouTube family, I promise you guys, and we will all pray for one another, and there's a lot of people who will. So definitely put your prayer requests on there. Don't shy away from it. If it's unspoken, put that. We got you covered. More importantly, God's got you covered. So let's get rolling. Storm Prediction Center will start us off right off with this. For day 7, that is for this, well, I keep wanting to say this coming Monday, but this is for next Monday. So obviously we just had a Monday, so this is for next Monday of early next week. This is for day 7. It's pretty uncommon, not super duper rare or anything like that, but very uncommon. So we had this yellow area right here. This is a 15% chance to see severe weather. This is pretty much the same as a slight risk at day 7, which is a level 2 out of 5. When we have a 30% risk opened up past day 3, that's basically like a level 3 out of 5 risk, an enhanced risk. If the orange shows up, which is a 30% chance down here, like you see on this legend down here. So this is for Monday. This is for next Monday, and we certainly need to watch day 8 too, because I have a feeling that by the time we wake up tomorrow, there will be an area that gets introduced for day 8 too. There's a big question on what day, or if it's going to happen overnight, Monday night into Tuesday, or if it's going to happen Monday or Tuesday as far as the biggest severe weather threat. We need to figure that out. But going forward, we're going to take a look at the GFS, and we're going to take a look at the European. So what's going on here is going to have multiple areas of rain. We've already talked about this. That flies across, that flies across the Mid-South right here into the Northeast. This will continue to deliver rounds of rain, the potential for flooding, so please be aware of that. But I think we're certainly benefiting off the fact that this is going to be spread out off a 2 to 3 to 4 day period. So all the rain's not falling in one 12 to 24 hour period. So we're certainly grateful for that in Tennessee and Kentucky and surrounding regions. But certainly report if you're in these regions, and if you're seeing any kind of flooding going on, I would like to know. But as of right now, I'm not seeing a big issue with flooding. But going past this, we watch this little cutoff low that gets trapped under ridging to the north. This kind of swings due potentially can deliver some snow for certain areas of the Midwest, north central U.S., maybe even the Ohio Valley, maybe a little quick shot of snow overnight Friday into Saturday morning. This moves through, no longer going to be a big system like we were potentially thinking it could. And then what happens here is a big trough digs out west. Surface low pops off this trough. That, and with just the massive trough digging the west, this allows to bring a ton of warm, moist air into basically the Mississippi Valley and the South in general. High dew points in the 60s and 70s, and a massive moist sector. So what happens is the system moves in. You get a deepening of this low pressure. It strengthens, and then does it go like negatively tilted? What kind of tilt does this trough have? We're not going to focus too much on that right now, but what we do know is severe weather could potentially be down here, certainly already in this time frame right here. I really think this is going to move potentially into the Tuesday time frame. I don't know about Monday, but we'll see. We're going to figure this out. It's only Tuesday of this week. We're talking about Monday or Tuesday of next week. But what we do know is the GFS and the European both agree on the system. But low pressure right here, this is for the 13th, the morning of the 13th. Low pressure flying across the middle of the country, bringing strong winds, massive dip in the polar jet right here. Subtropical jet still screaming down here, and there is just a ton of moisture right in here. A lot of snow for the north and west side, basically the cold side of the system. This continues. Potential blizzard conditions in the eastern Dakotas. This could shift back and forth. You need to keep an eye on this if you're in Minneapolis. You certainly do, because y'all are going to be awfully close to the cold side of the storm. But I think cold air will eventually wrap some snow back into those areas. But, I mean, look at this huge front moving through. Does this deliver some severe weather for the Mid-South, Ohio Valley, the Southeast as we're getting into Wednesday and the Thursday? Not sure, but then there's a shot of cold air behind it. Potentially kicks off some snow showers for the Ohio Valley Northwest flow, which we have not seen much of yet in the southern Appalachian Mountains. So we'll have to watch. Now, the European, what is the European show? I guess I'm going to have to babysit this pivotal weather icon again, but it always frustrates me. But moving forward, same kind of deal. System flies through. We'll watch for some snow, even in Pennsylvania. You know, watch out. Like I said, late Friday night into the wee hours of the morning of Saturday morning. And then here comes our digging trough right here. And then we're getting into Monday evening. Here comes low pressure. There already can be severe weather ongoing down here in the south central U.S., Texas, Oklahoma, maybe even Arkansas. But I'm telling you, this is looking like it's shifting more to Tuesday. But we'll see. Low pressure starts moving north right here. It's deepening at this point very slowly. But I can tell you the European in general is a little bit further northwest with the track of the low pressure. Therefore, brings heavier snow further west into the Dakotas. Now, not to ignore Nebraska, you guys could certainly see a lot of snow. Of course, certainly if you're in the northern part of Nebraska. But look at this line of storms. And I mean, this is for overnight next Tuesday, not this Tuesday, next Tuesday into Wednesday morning. I mean, it looks like you got a pretty strong line of storms that really gets going potentially Tuesday afternoon, evening. And that's why I really think that we watch for Tuesday instead of Monday. But, of course, the Storm Prediction Center, as of right this is so annoying. As of right now for day 7, has it for Monday. More so Monday into Tuesday. So 12Z Monday into 12Z Tuesday. So basically that's the entire day, Monday into overnight Monday into Tuesday morning. That's what that symbolizes, if you're wondering. So let's get back to this. This system continues to swing through. A lot of nasty weather potentially for Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, eastern Texas. And then, you know, this eventually makes its way into the south, Mid-South, Ohio Valley, but really the Mid-South, watch out. We're getting into this is getting into 8 days out, guys. So we don't know what kind of weather it's going to bring for the Southeast. We got to figure out what's going to happen in the middle of the country, which is going to be a high impact event. But really, here comes this upper trough. We're looking at 500 millibars in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. Shows a deep digging trough out west. And what happens is you get in general, southerly flow, southwesterly flow, all levels of the atmosphere, different flow, more southerly in certain levels of the atmosphere. But anyways, in general, you have a huge moist sector building up because you're getting a yanking of moisture from this surface low and this digging trough. So you have a ton of moisture down here. And this digs through. We'll see if this gets some kind of tilt to it. We certainly don't want this to go negatively tilted. That means we're going to have some definitely some dynamic impacts. But going forward here, and man, I am struggling with pivotal weather. One of the downfalls, it's a great site, and if I have it, it's a great site for severe weather. I love it for severe weather, and I love these dew point maps on pivotal weather, but it's a little tricky to use sometimes, especially if you're doing it on the fly. But as we're getting really into this weekend, there's already moist air into the south. You see these dew points into the 60s. That is an ingredient for severe weather. We know that if you've been watching long enough or know, even just a little bit about weather, you know that humidity in the air is an ingredient for severe weather. So what happens here is we're getting into this weekend. The upper trough starts to move into the west, and then here comes the big yank of moisture right here, all the way up into the middle of the country, into Nebraska. Dew points rise all the way into the 50s, and then I really think in this time frame right here, dew points well into the 60s. And I tell you what, when we get into these short-range models, which, by the way, we will not get into until this weekend, that just tells you how long we're going to be talking about this. The moist sector on this is going to be pretty large. It's going to stretch pretty far up. It'll be interesting. There's going to be some kind of triple point setting up somewhere, basically where the best dynamics overlap. Is basically what that means. But we'll talk about more of that when we need to. But there's going to be an extensive moist sector into this area of the country. It's already been plagued a couple times this year, and it's likely going to, I'm not going to compare it to the early November events or the December 2021 events, but unfortunately, we're talking severe weather instead of winter weather again for December. It just seems like time and time again we sacrifice the entire month of December for one cold week in November. I made a joke about that on Twitter a couple hours ago, and I have to make sure I keep my emotions out of weather about what I want compared to what's going to happen and what just on average and weather history happens for your geographical location. But anyways, to get off that, here comes the low-level jet. This is the winds in the low levels, about a mile or so in the atmosphere. What kind of direction, how fast is this flowing? Well, you see these wind bars pointing right out the south. You're going to have a low-level jet. Winds are going to be screaming out the south. This will also aid in increasing this low-level moisture for this area. And, I mean, we'll back it up for the time frame that the Storm Prediction Center is watching. Notice that there's not much wind energy into Arkansas. The low-level jet's still back over the south central and middle of the country, where you got a 30 to 40 knot low-level jet based off what the European is showing. The big-time kinematics, which is that wind energy you need, the wind pattern you need for severe weather, really maximizes over this area Tuesday. That's why I think we're going to have a shift into Tuesday. But don't hold me to that. We'll watch. We'll certainly watch that, but I would not be surprised if we wake up tomorrow, we're going to have a 15% risk added for day 7 again, which will be Tuesday, and then the day 7 now will move up to day 6, which would be your Monday of next week. So this is going to be a high-end cyclone. It's going to be very impactful. So we need to watch out for this. And going forward, and be careful and hold tight when we're going to talk about the snowy end of this too. Really, as this system next week, kind of rolls over the rest of the country, the rest of the eastern U.S., this could bring some very strong winds across areas of the country, almost everybody. Normally with a very strong system like this, you have strong winds pretty much everywhere, especially when you're close to that cyclone. But we'll watch this. This will certainly potentially bring a big-time high-end wind event for areas of the higher mountaintops of the southern Alps here. But we'll see what happens. But what happens after this storm? That's a big question, I'll tell you that. But on the snowy side, let's talk about this. What does the GFS show? Here comes the GFS. Snow's breaking out, already snowing in Wyoming, Sunday into Monday. A lot of snow falling in northern Colorado, snow falling in northwest Nebraska. We're getting into Tuesday morning, and this is when the system really amplifies and starts to really drop a hammer with this winter storm in the Dakotas. And then here it comes, low pressure, 984 millibar low pressure. This is going to bring some very intense moisture, and it will stop at around Tuesday evening of next week. And this is a very heavy axis of heavy snow from Nebraska. I mean, even showing up in areas of Kansas, far northwest Kansas, all the way up to northern Minnesota. And if you were to keep this going into the north central U.S., I mean, here it is. Minneapolis right into here. We keep this rolling here. Heavy snow all night long, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. But just know the timing's going to be off, and the axis of where the heaviest snow is going to fall is going to be off. But the low pressure rides are right over Minneapolis. So this keeps that moist air of y'all. But this could be a big snowstorm also for northern and western areas of Minnesota. Very high impact snowstorm potentially is going to happen, possibly, most likely is going to happen. The European, we're getting into Friday morning. A low pressure tracks more due north instead of northeast. Therefore, a lot of heavy rain is going to move over the eastern Dakotas. And this would put probably the heaviest snow over the central to maybe western Dakotas. It will still eventually wrap snow into about early to midweek all the way down into Nebraska. But definitely more of a northerly northwest component to the axis of heavier snow, and then we move into the north central U.S. Certainly not. It would be a pretty big event still, but it would be an event for the northern half of Minnesota, where it starts off as heavy snow and it potentially switches to rain and then back to snow. So the track of the snow, the track of the low pressure means everything. But snow between now and the duration of this event for the national blend of all models, blends all the model guidance together, all the current guidance. Of course, this little stripe of snow has nothing to do with the system, so what comes in is going to add to that. But I mean, look at this. We're going to take this all the way through about next Wednesday evening. Next Wednesday evening. It's 198 hours out, 8 to 9 days out. It really wants to drop the hammer right here in the eastern Dakotas, where 1 to 2 feet of snow could fall. A lot of snow for the Dakotas. And then there's a lot of question marks as we get into Nebraska. How far snow does accumulating snow fall? And there's even a signal down here into Kansas. We look at the north central U.S. Pretty solid signal down here in the Minneapolis. Wants to drop a half a foot of snow for you guys. But guidance is everywhere. Duluth could get a foot of snow. But really, there's a jackpot area. And guys, one thing I haven't really mentioned is the potential wind gusts with this during this event. Let's see. This is when the storm's going to be cranking up. You got winds pushing, 40, 45 miles per hour sustained. So that means you probably would get blizzard watches or warnings issued for this area. This will be a blizzard potentially for this area, guys. So we'll talk more in detail as we go in time. But this is going to be a high impact event. So a lot of questions. What happens after this system? I think there's going to be some sort of pattern change. This would symbolize that 15th time frame that I've been talking about time and time again, that I really think if we're going to get a pattern change by late month, we will know by the 15th. So by the time this major system is wrapping up that we're likely to have, I think we will have a good idea on what's going to probably happen around Christmas time. Maybe not quite New Year's, but I think we're going to start to really unravel what's going to happen the second half of the month, at least all the way up through about Christmas. I can tell you that. But I can tell you the GFS is useless after day 7. The European is useless after day 7. It really is, guys. So I don't really have nothing for you for December. There's a lot of question marks. I can tell you, there's a lot of things shifting now. I think we're going to be pretty warm, around at least above average to average temperature-wise for most of the eastern U.S. through at least the next 10 days, guys. And I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but I always want to keep it real with you guys. It keeps getting delayed. And everything looks good about 240 hours out. And then we get about 3 days later, and then nothing gets inside 240 hours out. It's like we stay right at that 10-day range. And if we get to I would say Sunday of this coming weekend, and it still is showing at 240 hours out, then we really need to question if this pattern change is ever going to happen. Because sure, we have all this amazing blocking up north, but that doesn't really mean anything if you don't have other things in the Pacific cooperating, the teleconnections you need. But anyways, guys, that's all I got. Hopefully that was informative. I know it's not very detailed, but I can tell you we'll find out a lot more details here in the coming days. God bless all y'all. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you in the morning.